And here we go, folks. One more time, one more lesson. Chapter 4, Lesson 10, continued simplifying expressions. Keep those words, groups, 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 like terms, like terms, like terms in your head. I'm going to go ahead and show you a few pages of homework review. We may or may not have gotten to the first few. So when you're ready, pause, take a look, and come on back, and I'll go to the next page. And if you have any questions, send me an email, message me with chat.google.com, or you're going to have to wait till the next week, so why not ask me now, right? Focusing once again on simplify, simplify, simplify. Keep your eye on the prize. Eventually, we're going to be going to really complicated equations. It sure would be nice if we could simplify this down to something that's more doable. So if we can find a way to simplify parts of equations, we will make our lives much more peaceful. I'm going to go ahead and do some quick problems with you. This is today's assignment. I'm going to make this super quick. We're going to simplify. We're going to simplify. We're going to simplify. And then you may use the other paper to color in. That'll be able and help you check your answers. Hey, I want to look at number 1, and I want to remind you what that means for 7 groups. First of all, I changed this to add the opposite. That's just me. You don't have to, but I want to see that. What does 7 groups mean? Well, if I could just start writing this right here, and you know what? I'm going to just dot, 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 dot. But as you just saw me do with adding the opposite, I'm going to change this, and then what does that do? So all those positive 2's, we don't want 7 groups of positive 2's. We want the opposite of 7 groups of positive 2's, which means that would be a negative 14. And all those negative or minus or subtract 4x's, we want the opposite of all that, which changes those to a whole bunch of positives. In fact, 7 groups of 4x's would be 28x's. Now notice, nowhere in this was the 5x a part of the group. So I'm going to just leave the 5x as is. Now we go ahead and say, all right, 5x's, a negative 14, and 28x's. Hey, why not just combine some like terms? 5x's, 28x's will make 33x's. And then we cannot combine that with a negative $14. Final answer here, and we're going to color that red. Now, if you don't find it with the add the opposite, you might simply look for subtract 14. It could be either one of those. Let's take a look at number 2, please. Number 2, we have $8. That is a positive 8, so you see 8 right here. And then we have 3 groups, 3 groups, 3 groups. Oh, and by the way, after we take those 3 groups, we notice that it also says, well, it's not just 3 groups, we want the opposite. I think you're going to see a theme here, why Mr. Callan chose the problems he did. So, in fact, the opposite of all those positive 6's would be negative 6's, leaving us with negative 18. The opposite of all those minus 6x's, the opposite of all those negative 6x's would turn to positive here as well. So if I put 6x on top of 6x on top of another positive 6x, that will get us 18x's. Also notice the 8, not a part of the group. So I'm just going to copy that as is. If you want, you can put a little plus sign. That's totally up to you. 8, negative 18, and 18x, I'm going to write the variable term in front. And hey, why not just combine those like terms? We have positive $8, we have negative $18. We end up in the negatives because those will cancel out, leaving us with negative 10 and a positive 18x's. Now, once again, when you go to color this green, if you can't find adding a negative 10, you could also look for subtract 10. That means the same thing. I'm going to hop to the next page. I think these problems will help. But once again, you're going to see a theme. 7 groups. Why write 7 groups of 3x's when you could write 21x? Well, not 3x's, excuse me. 7 groups of 3 is 21. 7 groups of 3x's, that's 21x's. But here we are again with the opposite. In other words, we want the opposite, or we want to decrease all those positive 3's. That's going to be a negative. And we want the opposite of all those, subtract the opposite of all those negatives, which is going to be positive 21x. Notice the 9, not a part of the group. The 4x in the front, not a part of the group. So we take care of the groups first. Why write 7 groups of 3 when you can write 21? Why write 7 groups of 3x when you could write 21x? I'm going to go ahead and change these into adding the opposite. That just helps me. Then I have 4x's here. I have negative 21. I have 21x's here. I have negative 9. Hey, let's combine those like terms. 4 envelopes of money, 21 envelopes of money makes 25 envelopes of money. We don't know what that is, but at least we know we have 25 of them. Meanwhile, negative 21 and negative 9, oh, excuse me, that's going to be a negative 30, or you may rewrite that as a subtracting 30. That one you're going to color in green. Let's pop over to number 14. 6 groups of negative, 6 groups of negative x is going to be negative 6x's. 6 groups of minus 3, 6 groups of subtract 3 is going to be subtracting 18, or you can write add the opposite. Notice the 4x, not a part of that group. The negative 8 out front, not a part of the group. So we took care of our groups first. Now we ask, okay, can we please make our lives any simpler? Please. Yes, negative 6x's plus another positive 4x's. Some of those x's will cancel out. We still have the opposite of 2 envelopes of money. Negative 8, negative 18, same sign, add and keep that sign because we go deeper in debt or deeper underwater. And if you don't find that, take a look for negative 2x minus 26. So I really wanted you to notice, let me get a highlighter out because this is super important. If you have an opposite or a minus or a negative sign in front, all of those will be changed to the opposite. So be careful with your sign. Number 1 was subtracting or taking the opposite of 7. Number 2 was subtracting or taking the opposite of 3 groups. So all of those had to be changed to their opposites. And number 13 was subtract or take the opposite of 7 groups. So the opposite of the positive was a negative, the opposite of a negative, the opposite of subtract was a positive, or add. Only number 14 did not have a subtraction or an opposite sign in the front. So 6 groups of negative x, that didn't change to the opposite. That makes negative 6x's. 6 groups of negative 3, that didn't change to the opposite. That stayed a negative. Go down, go down, go down. So be very careful of that highlighted blue. Watch out for any negative or opposite symbols in front of the distribution. Warning, warning, warning. I'm telling you right now, every year that is one of the most missed problems on quizzes and tests. If you distribute a number, but you forget to take the opposite or go down or whatever the case might be. All right, that's what I got. Go ahead back to your assignment. I hope that was quick. Really take care of the worksheet first, and then if you have time, go ahead and color in the snowman and the person. Sorry, it's snow, but that's what I got. All right, thanks, folks. That's what I got. Go and do well. Let's go.